Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. We're going to look at the state of hardware in 2025. So this is the insights we gathered from over 1,000 engineers across industries regarding the tools, the challenges, and the trends that we see in the space. I am the last presentation before lunch, so hopefully this will be fun and informative. If you like data like me, I'm an engineer, you'll enjoy it. So my name is Valentina Ratner. I am the co-founder and CEO of AllSpice IO, which is a collaboration platform for hardware teams developing products. I am a mechanical engineer by training, and before starting AllSpice out of graduate school with my co-founder, I worked at Amazon as a PM in infrastructure projects, building the physical backbone behind the e-commerce experience. So if you're an Amazon shopper and you get your packages in 2 days, 1 day, or 2 hours, you're very welcome. I built all the robots, machinery, logistics, trucking, conveyor belts, and things that get packages to people's homes. So the insight that we're giving you today is into the survey that we run and the trends, challenges, and tool sets. We collected these insights across a variety of industries, from consumer electronics and leaders and engineers across aerospace, medical devices, instrumentation, transportation, and everything in between. These are coming from folks across the hardware stack, coming from PCB designers, electrical engineers, firmware designers, manufacturing, logistics, all the way to heads of teams, team leads, and VPs as well. So the first question we ask is, what's the main challenge you've faced over the past year? 12% said inefficient tool sets or software, 16% communication, 26% the cost of materials of components, and 46% said time constraints or deadlines, which is not surprising if you think about what we just heard throughout this morning, where teams are getting this pressure to deliver faster, build faster, and manufacture faster. The average product development cycle has gone down from 2 to 5 years not long ago to 12 to 36 months, and even we heard this morning down to 9 months, 6 months, or even 4 months. So the teams are expected to do basically more complex, higher interconnection products at a much faster pace. So when we're talking about getting to do things faster, some of the things that teams value is tools and practices that help them save time, especially when it comes around saving time for menial, tedious, low-value add tasks. There's a lot of excitement in the space right now about AI, for example, especially about automating design or manufacturing. And when we asked the engineers in the design space specifically, a lot of them said, well, can you automate everything else but the design? Can you get away, not the things that I like to do that were really good at creative thinking, but can you automate all of the admin tasks, the repetitive jobs, the things that we have to do? And one that comes really often is troubleshooting. So we asked engineers, how much time do you spend on a weekly basis troubleshooting? %35 said 1 to 3 hours. 23% 4 to 6 hours. 18% 7 to 9 hours. And a pretty large percentage, 25%, has lost count of how much time they're spending doing troubleshooting. This is a lot of time for something that's supposed to be working, right? If you can think about, imagine what your team will be able to do if every single engineer on your team, the average in our survey was about 6 hours per week. If you had an extra 300 hours per year, what would you be able to accomplish with that time? Some of the most common areas that we heard for the team spend time for troubleshooting is around component selection, so things around cost, compatibility, lead time. Also around manufacturing and rework. You're going to hear a lot about that today, how much time teams spending manufacturing. And the last one was around broader system integration. So as hardware products are becoming more complex, there's more software, there's more controls, there's more people together, and a lot of the troubleshooting comes down to, does the electronics fit the mechanical enclosure? Is the firmware version the same one for the hardware version? And things like that that kind of cross the team borders. So it's not surprising that when we asked what's the skill that has helped them to be the most successful in engineering, above tech stack, time management, or process improvement, the main skill has been collaboration and communication. So hardware systems are becoming increasingly more complex. There's more software, more firmware, more control, more moving pieces. So getting everyone on the same page and keeping all these teams running together is increasingly important. So next question we ask is, how can we help these teams be more efficient and collaborate better? And how can you introduce new tools into their stack? So we ask, what is the best time to try something new in your design cycle? Unsurprisingly, a lot picked in between projects, 39%. 53% said at the beginning. 4% at the end or in the middle. This one was personally surprising to me because I was expecting more people to choose in between projects. That's what common sense tells you is the best time to do something new, right? Like when you're shifting from one product to the next. But when we followed up, what we learned is that most engineers and engineering teams want to test new processes and tools in the real thing. So there's no better way to know if something works for you or not than to actually put it to the test in a production or something that's going to production pretty soon. So a lot of teams use these beginning stages as an experimentation phase where they test and try new things, and then they set up the foundation of what it's going to carry them throughout the rest of their cycles. There's certain features and tools that helps make this possible, right? So if you're trying to try something and test something while you're building a real product at the same time, teams look for things like automated backups, mirrors to other systems, or integrations to make these a smoother process. When we asked what's the most important factor, it was also surprising to see that, not surprising, that above buying or ease implementation or cost, functionality. I think this is a very engineering-driven answer. 40% of our surveys said that functionality is their main feature. This one has also been one of the most inconsistent one from our own experience. We work with a lot of teams, startups, all the way to enterprise companies, and functionality is what got people interested, but buy-in is what got a tool adopted and implemented. So that 4% of people that are probably the managers and the VPs that are thinking about, is this tool going to help them? A lot of the collaboration tools, especially, they have value for the individual user, but you want the rest of the team on it to be like a successful deployment. One of the pieces of functionality that we talked a lot about at AllSpice is around revision control. And we get a lot of teams coming to us that are looking to migrate from SVN, which is a subversion, traditional or legacy version control system, which right now 28% of our industry has never used it. 26% doesn't use it but used to. And 45% are still in SVN. The interesting part about this is that in the software space, this is migration from systems like SVN into Git that's happened over the last 2 decades, where nowadays about 95% of software developers are building on Git. Think of like GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, and tools like that. And speaking of the other trends, one of the other questions we ask these engineers and leaders is about how many iterations they do per cycle. It's the clicker not working. I'm not trying to build up suspense here. I'm going to get it to go. 38% said 1 to 2 revisions. 48% 3 to 5 revisions. And 7% 5 to 10 or more than 11. And this is one of the areas where I had a big question, which is less revisions a good thing? Is less iterations a good thing, right? If we look at the software space, traditionally, smaller, more frequent iterations amounts to an overall shorter timeline because you're able to catch problems earlier and you're able to, the amount of rework that you have to do, it only goes back to the last correct version. If your last correct version was a week ago, there's a lot less to do and rework than if your last correct version was 3 months ago. There's a lot that could have happened in between. So when teams said they're doing, the vast majority are doing 1 to 5 revisions, the question I have is, like, does that mean that they're spending more time per revision? Or does that mean that they're just catching the problems much later? The last question I'll share today that we asked is, how do these teams feel the industry is working together, especially how it has changed over the last 5 to 10 years? 18% thinks we're working in increasingly siloed ways. 25%, the same amount or unchanged, and 57% more closely or more efficiently, which is really exciting that over half of the teams feel like they're more efficient with their time. But they also mean that there is 43% of our respondents that are kind of stuck in the old way, right? That they're still isolated, they're still not working, and that's a huge opportunity to get them to work on the next way. That is all for today. If you enjoyed the presentation, you can get all of our survey answers on our website, AllSpice.io. There's a lot more in there that we didn't get to cover today. And if you have any questions, want to chat, want to learn more, we have a table in the back by the airplane painting, and come find me and we'll love to chat. Thank you all so much for your time and have a great rest of your day.